Some couples are brought together by destiny. Some fall in love at first sight. But Rex Marlowe and Liora Vel'shara? A madman with tangled hair who talked to a wrench, and a celestial princess who believed every touch was a sacred vow. They met because of a single, well-placed hit on a broken machine, and a glowing stone picked up from the floor. Rex thought he was just fixing something, showing off, maybe. Liora was certain he had just proposed, following the oldest rites of the Velari. And so, before Rex could even find the restroom, whispers of an interstellar wedding between the Earthling lunatic and the Crystal Princess rippled through Orbis 9. Strange, isn't it? How sometimes, in a universe bound by rules and rituals, only raw madness can truly touch a heart. The camera would have panned through the cold, metallic corridors of Orbis 9 silent but for the hum of distant generators and the occasional flicker of failing lights. Amidst this sterile monotony, a door creaked open with a reluctant sigh. Inside, chaos had made itself at home. Sparks danced lazily from an overloaded circuit board. Gears, wires, and half-finished contraptions littered every surface like forgotten dreams. And in the center of it all sat Rex Marlowe, legs crossed, hair wild, face smudged with grease as he spoke earnestly to a rusted wrench. "Lucy," he whispered, holding the tool up to eye level, "if this doesn't work, I'm blaming you." The wrench, as always, offered no argument. Rex grinned, a flash of mischief in his eyes, and tightened the last bolt on what could only be described as a mechanical abomination. It whirred, sputtered, then promptly caught fire. "Ah," he nodded thoughtfully, "perfect." The overhead speakers crackled to life, dragging him from his triumph. "Attention all personnel. Diplomatic delegation from Velari arriving in Docking Bay 1. Formal protocol required." Rex tilted his head, considering. Formal protocol, or lunch? He stood, tossing Lucy into his belt holster like a trusted sidearm, and ambled out, humming a tune only he seemed to know. The docking bay shimmered with polished floors and hastily arranged banners, an attempt to mask the wear of a station long past its prime. Officers stood in stiff lines, uniforms crisp, faces blank, masks of professionalism. Then came the glow. The Velari shuttle descended like a drop of moonlight, hull gleaming with iridescent waves. When its doors parted, silence fell heavier than gravity itself. Liora Vel'shara stepped forward, a vision carved from starlight. Her silver-lit skin pulsed with subtle hues, shifting like whispers of forgotten songs. Violet eyes, deep and endless, scanned the room with serene grace. Her ceremonial robes floated as if untouched by weight, each step a symphony of elegance. To Rex, who had just wandered in munching on something vaguely resembling a protein bar, she looked shiny. He muttered, "Crumbs falling. Fancy." But the universe has little patience for admiration. As Liora raised a crystalline device, delicate, humming with alien energy, it sputtered, then erupted in a soft burst of light and a sharp hiss. A crack zigzagged through its core, leaking streams of luminous vapor that began eating through the deck like it was starving. Panic rippled through the welcoming committee. Officers scrambled, alarms bleated in protest. Liora knelt beside the failing device, her calm demeanor cracking for just a heartbeat as her fingers danced over the controls. Rex watched, brow furrowed. Then, without ceremony, he strolled through the chaos, crouched beside her, and with all the confidence of a man who had absolutely no idea what he was doing, raised Lucy high. "Sometimes," he said, as if sharing ancient wisdom, "you just gotta show it who's boss." Before anyone could stop him, he brought the wrench down with a decisive thunk. The device whined, then settled into a steady, harmonious hum. The vapor ceased. The glow stabilized. Silence. Liora's eyes widened, not in fear, but in awe. Her ears, long and elegant, twitched in what could only be reverence. The awakening strike. She whispered, voice barely a breath. "You know the old ways." Rex blinked. "Sure. Old ways. Right." His gaze drifted downward, catching a glimpse of a small, radiant stone that had dislodged during the commotion. It pulsed softly, casting dancing lights across his grease-streaked fingers. "Pretty," he murmured, picking it up without a second thought. Turning to Liora, he offered it to her, his grin lopsided, carefree. "Here. Keep it. Looks nice. Might be useful if you need to throw it at someone annoying." Her hand reached out, trembling slightly as she accepted the stone with a grace that belonged to sacred rituals. To Rex, it was just a shiny rock. To Liora Vel'shara, it was unmistakably clear. He had just presented her with a lesser star heart, the traditional token of union. Around them, the crew began to recover from the scare, but whispers had already begun to stir. Rex patted the now stable device, gave Liora a playful wink, and wandered off, likely in search of that elusive restroom. Liora remained, cradling the glowing stone close to her chest, her heart resonating with a melody only she could hear. The bond had been offered, and she had accepted. Morning on Orbis 9 was a relative term. There was no sun here, just the soft flicker of artificial lights adjusting to a pre-programmed schedule, indifferent to human notions of time. Rex Marlowe stirred awake beneath a pile of mismatched blankets and spare cables, one boot still on from the night before. A familiar metallic clang echoed through his quarters as a small delivery drone hovered by his bed, dropping a neatly wrapped package onto his chest. "Rise and shine, Mr. Marlowe," the drone chimed in a voice far too cheerful for a place like this. "A gift from the Velari delegation." Rex squinted at the package, rubbing sleep from his eyes. The wrapping shimmered thin strands of crystalline fiber woven into patterns that probably meant something profound. He muttered, sitting up. "Hope it's food." With the grace of a man who had never respected the art of unwrapping, he tore it open. Inside gleamed a set of utensils, forks, knives, spoons, all crafted from translucent crystal, each piece etched with delicate symbols that pulsed faintly with inner light. Rex held up a fork, turning it over in his hand. "Fancy, but not very filling," he mused. Before he could question further, the drone dropped a second item, a sleek invitation card that projected holographic text into the air. "Honored guest Rex Marlowe, you are cordially invited to the bonding communion feast. Attendance is expected." His stomach growled on cue. "Feast? A grin spread across his face. About time this place hosted a decent buffet. He didn't bother changing out of his oil-stained uniform. Food was food. The grand hall had never looked so luminous. Soft lights danced along the high arches, refracted through floating crystals that hovered like silent stars. Long tables were adorned with dishes that shimmered, some of them humming softly as if infused with music. Rex sauntered in, eyes wide at the spread of alien delicacies. He spotted something that vaguely resembled gelatin and immediately made a mental note to grab seconds. But before he could attack the buffet, a familiar figure approached. Liora Vel'shara glided toward him, her robes cascading like liquid light. In her hands, she carried a small orb glowing, delicate, and pulsing in rhythm with the ambient hum of the room. Her violet eyes locked onto his with a calm intensity. "Rex Marlowe," she spoke softly, as if announcing something far greater than his name. Rex blinked, half a bread roll already in his mouth. "Hey, Liora. Nice party." She extended the orb toward him with both hands, her posture ceremonial, reverent. "I offer you the luminous core as symbol of unity and shared path." Rex glanced between her serene expression and the glowing sphere. "Oh," he mumbled, swallowing his bite. "Is this, like a centerpiece?" Without hesitation, he reached out and plucked the orb from her hands, turning it over curiously. "Pretty neat," he said, giving it a gentle shake as if expecting it to light up more. The moment his fingers wrapped fully around it, the orb flared, casting a radiant halo that rippled through the hall. The floating crystals above resonated in response, emitting harmonious chimes that echoed like a choir of stars. Every Velari in the room bowed their heads. The humans exchanged puzzled glances. Rex, oblivious, held the orb up to eye level. "Wow, this would look great over my workbench," he mused aloud. Liora's lips curved into the faintest smile, her gaze shimmering with something between pride and quiet triumph. "The bond is sealed," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. It wasn't until Rex noticed the sudden silence, the way every eye of human and Velari alike was fixed on him, that he began to suspect he'd missed something important. Did I win a prize or?" From a corner of the hall, a low murmur began. It spread like wildfire, whispers laced with disbelief and amusement. "Did he just? That's the binding ritual. Rex married the princess." Rex's brow furrowed as he slowly lowered the orb. "Wait, what?" An officer clapped him on the back, barely suppressing laughter. "Congrats, Marlowe. Didn't think you had it in you." Liora inclined her head gracefully. "You have honored me, Rex Marlowe. Our paths are now intertwined." Rex opened his mouth, then closed it again, spinning the orb once more in his hands. "Is this because I shook it?" No one answered. Somewhere in the distance, a celebratory melody began to play, soft, ethereal, and utterly final. Rex sighed, glancing longingly at the untouched buffet. "I just came here for lunch." But destiny, as it seemed, had a far more elaborate menu in mind. There are moments when a man begins to suspect that life has taken a strange turn. For Rex Marlowe, that moment came when Liora Vel'shara started showing up at his side like a shadow made of moonlight. Wherever he wandered, be it the humming corridors of Orbis 9 or the cluttered chaos of his workshop, she was there. Tall, graceful, her silver-lit skin casting soft reflections against the dull metal walls. Always watching him with those violet eyes, serene and unreadable. "Today," she said one morning, appearing without a sound, "we begin your immersion into Velari traditions." Rex, halfway through tightening a bolt on a contraption that looked suspiciously like a coffee maker strapped to a jet engine, glanced up. Is that like a game? She tilted her head, the faintest hint of amusement dancing across her features. In a way. He shrugged, wiping his hands on a rag that did little to remove the grease. All right. Lead the way, princess. And so began a parade of ceremonies, rituals, and customs that Rex barely understood but found oddly entertaining. He learned that a simple nod could signify acceptance of eternal partnership or indicate that the soup was satisfactory, depending on the tilt. That offering a crystal flower was either a greeting or a declaration of devotion. He handed out 3 by accident. But nothing compared to the day of the spiral of understanding. The chamber was vast, circular, its walls adorned with shifting patterns of light that pulsed in time with a low, melodic hum. Velari elders stood in a circle, their robes shimmering like liquid starlight. Liora stood beside Rex, her voice soft. This is the dance of resonance. It symbolizes the unraveling of barriers between bonded souls. Rex eyed the open space before him, then glanced at the elders. You want me to dance? She nodded solemnly. He sighed, stepping forward. Well, Lucy, he muttered to the wrench at his belt, guess we're doing this. What followed was less a dance and more a chaotic flailing of limbs. Rex spun, stumbled, and waved his arms like a man swatting invisible bees. He nearly tripped over his own feet twice and might have accidentally invented a move involving finger guns and a pirouette. When he finally stopped, panting slightly, he looked around, expecting confusion or laughter. Instead, the elders placed their hands over their hearts and bowed deeply. Liora's eyes gleamed with something akin to admiration. Your interpretation, she whispered, was transcendent. A bold reimagining of tradition. Rex blinked, sweat dripping down his brow. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Word of his innovative dance spread quickly. By evening, a holographic projection of his performance was already circulating among both Velari and human crew, labeled as the new spiral. But the galaxy wasn't done with him yet. The next day brought the Harmony Convergence ceremony. The main hall had been transformed into a celestial theater. Above them, a massive star map hovered, constellations drifting lazily, threads of light weaving between them. You must activate the constellation nexus, Liora explained, guiding him toward a sleek, glowing console at the center. Rex stared at the array of symbols and pulsating crystals. Right, sure. He reached out, hesitated, then true to form gave the console a firm tap with his forehead. The star map shuddered, then burst into brilliant light. Lines of energy shot across the room, connecting stars in patterns unseen before. A deep, resonant tone filled the air, vibrating through bone and spirit alike. Gasps echoed around him. The Velari elders exchanged glances of awe. Cognitive alignment achieved, one of them murmured. A pure resonance. Rex rubbed his forehead. Did I break it? Liora stood beside him, her expression soft, almost reverent. You have harmonized with the cosmos itself, she said quietly. Few ever do. By now, Rex had learned that asking too many questions only made things worse. So he offered a lopsided grin and nodded. Yeah, cosmic harmony. That's me. As the ceremony concluded, whispers once again filled the corridors of Orbis 9. Did you hear? He redefined the spiral. They say he speaks to the stars now. The madman is a visionary. Rex, oblivious to most of it, wandered back to his workshop, wondering if there'd be snacks at the next ritual. But Liora knew. She watched him from a distance, her heart resonating with a quiet certainty. In his chaos, there was truth. And in his madness, a kind of brilliance that no tradition could ever contain. News travels fast on a space station. Faster when it involves a madman and a princess. Rex Marlowe sat in his workshop, legs propped on a console, idly tossing a bolt into the air. The door hissed open, and Clarion the AI's holographic interface flickered to life beside him, a soft blue silhouette with a vaguely human shape. Rex, Clarion began, its tone too careful. If this is about the coffee machine, Rex interrupted, it was already broken. This isn't about the coffee machine. The bolt landed in his palm with a soft clink. Rex arched a brow. Then what? A holographic display lit up before him, an official Velari communique, ornate symbols shimmering like starlight. As of this morning, Clarion said, you are recognized by the Velari High Council as consort designate to Liora Vel'shara. Rex stared at the projection, unblinking. The what now? Consort designate, Clarion repeated. You are, by all ceremonial accounts, engaged. The bolt slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor. For the first time in a long while, Rex Marlowe felt something unfamiliar coil in his chest. Panic. He shot to his feet. No, no, no. That can't be right. I didn't. I mean, sure, I took the orb, did the dance, maybe tapped a console with my head, but that's just me being me. Velari tradition interprets those actions differently, Clarion replied calmly. Rex ran a hand through his already wild hair, pacing in frantic circles. I need to fix this. Finding Liora wasn't difficult. She was in the observation dome, standing alone beneath a vast expanse of stars, her silhouette framed by Jupiter's swirling storms. Rex hesitated at the entrance, suddenly aware of every misstep, every careless grin that had led him here. He approached quietly, his reflection joining hers in the glass. Liora, he began, his voice lacking its usual bravado. She turned, her expression serene as always, but there was a softness in her eyes that made his words catch for a moment. I saw the notice, he said, forcing a nervous chuckle. Seems like the universe thinks we're, a thing. Liora's lips curved slightly. The universe recognizes bonds where hearts resonate. Rex exhaled sharply, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, I need to be honest. I'm not, this. He gestured vaguely to the stars, the station, the weight of traditions he didn't understand. I'm just a guy who talks to his wrench and occasionally sets things on fire. I didn't mean to stumble into some royal engagement. I didn't even know half of what I was doing. Liora stepped closer, the light of distant galaxies reflecting in her violet eyes. You believe I did not see that? Rex opened his mouth, then closed it. Rex, she continued, her voice a gentle melody, I never asked you to be anything but yourself. The Velari saw rituals fulfilled. I saw a man unbound by fear or pretense. He searched her face, expecting disappointment, maybe frustration. But all he found was calm certainty. You're not angry? She shook her head, silver hair catching the starlight. How could I be? You gave me what no tradition could offer, truth. Rex swallowed hard, the weight in his chest shifting from panic to something heavier and warmer. I'm a mess, he admitted quietly. Beautifully so, Liora replied, a hint of mischief in her tone. For once, Rex had no clever retort. They stood in silence, the vastness of space stretching endlessly before them. And in that quiet, amidst the chaos of misunderstandings and accidental vows, Rex felt something real settle deep within him. It wasn't madness. It wasn't a joke. It was the beginning of something he never thought he'd find. A reason to stay still. A reason to care. He glanced at Liora, a genuine smile tugging at his lips, one without sarcasm or bravado. So, what happens now? Liora's gaze returned to the stars. Now, we let the heart decide the pace. And for once in his life, Rex Marlowe was content to follow. The alarms began as a low hum, almost indistinguishable from the usual background noise of Orbis 9. But within moments, that hum grew into a sharp, pulsing wail that echoed through every corridor. Rex Marlowe was already on his feet when Clarion's voice crackled through the intercom. Primary energy core destabilizing. Containment failure imminent. He didn't wait for further explanation. His boots hit the deck with purpose, wrench already in hand. Liora was waiting near the central conduit, her calm presence a stark contrast to the flashing red lights that bathed the station. The Velari delegation is being evacuated, she informed him, her voice steady. But without stabilization, this station will not survive the hour. Rex smirked, wiping grease onto his sleeve. Good thing I've got a few crazy ideas left. They moved as one, Liora weaving through the control panels with practiced grace, Rex bypassing protocols with reckless efficiency. Where she calculated, he improvised. Where she hesitated for precision, he acted on instinct. You can't reroute that flow manually, Liora warned as Rex pried open a panel. Can't? Or shouldn't? He shot back with a grin. Sparks flew. Systems groaned in protest. But bit by bit, the impossible began to look plausible. At one point, Rex jammed a stripped wire into place using a piece of his own belt. That's not regulation, Liora noted, a hint of amusement breaking through her composure. Neither am I, he replied, teeth clenched as he tightened a valve. The core's pulse began to slow, the angry red glow dimming to a stable blue. Clarion's voice returned, this time with something almost resembling relief. Containment restored. Critical failure averted. Rex let out a long breath, leaning against the nearest console. Told you, he panted. Nothing a little madness can fix. Liora approached, her violet eyes reflecting the steady light of the recovered core. You saved more than a station today, she said softly. Rex reached into his pocket, fingers closing around a small, familiar shape. When he pulled it out, Liora's gaze dropped to the object in his hand. An old, rusted bolt, its threads worn, a piece of frayed cord looped through it like a pendant. I don't have crystals, Rex began, his voice quieter than usual. No glowing orbs or fancy light shows. He held the bolt out toward her, a crooked smile playing at his lips. But this little guy held part of this station together for 10 years. kept everything from falling apart. Now, I figure it's time it held something else together. Liora's breath caught, her hand reaching out, delicate fingers brushing against his calloused ones as she accepted the offering. The moment her skin touched the bolt, a soft light blossomed around them, not from the object, but from the air itself. A pulse, gentle and warm, radiated outward like a sigh from the stars. Rex looked around, wide-eyed. Did we just? Liora smiled, cradling the bolt close to her chest. The bond is complete, she whispered. No grand ceremony. No audience. Just a madman, a princess, and a piece of metal that meant more than any jewel ever could. Later that night, they sat atop the observation dome, legs dangling over the edge, the endless canvas of space stretching before them. Rex leaned back on his hands, gazing at the distant galaxies. So, this is what happily ever after looks like. Liora tilted her head, her silver hair catching the faint glow of passing starlight. It looks like wherever we choose to make it. Rex chuckled, nudging her shoulder with his. You know, I never thought I'd end up here. Saving a space station, accidentally getting engaged, officially proposing with a bolt. Life is rarely what we expect, Liora replied, her voice like a quiet melody. They fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that didn't need filling. Above them, the stars watched in their eternal dance. And in that vast, infinite expanse, madness and love found a place to call home.